there, I'm Adeline and it is so nice to meet you. Welcome to the 42nd Celebrity Synastry chart reading where we will be covering Demi Lovato and Joe Jonas. For those new and returning, I take notes on a Synastry chart looking at the personal planets, signs, aspects, and if birth time is available, house overlays. I also add my insights and interpretations along the way, and of course feel free to leave your own in the comments below. Before we start the reading, give this video a like and subscribe for more Celebrity Synastry chart readings. Let's get into it. Starting off with the sun, they both have their sun sign in Leo. It can be an extreme relationship with love-hate, competitive, and both want to be at the center. Not the best start considering they were both young child stars when they were both together. Demi's sun in Joe's 11th house. It's a friendly atmosphere and they accept their differences and flaws. They are non-judgmental of each other and Demi sees Joe as someone she can spend her time with. And relationship begins as friends, which would definitely make sense. They were in the same industry, probably didn't know each other before. Joe's sun in Demi's first house. Joe really likes Demi and marriage is possible. Not necessarily so, we'll see more. Demi is energized by Joe and Joe is a light in Demi's life. They both feel positive with each other and they both feel quite familiar with each other. They both boost the other's self-esteem and Joe feels Demi really gets him. Joe feels he can be himself around Demi and Demi appreciates the admiration she gets from Joe. And they bring out the best in each other. Their sun signs are conjunct, obviously, so it's easy to maintain the relationship. There's an ability to relate to another. This so far does seem to be a very strong factor, their familiarity with each other. It's affirmative and supportive and they strongly identify with each other. They boost each other's confidence, we pretty much did see with their self-esteem now. Self-acceptance is vital and can be challenging as both share the same negative qualities. So with these two, as we saw the sun signs being both in Leo, probably the negative qualities, both wanting to be at their center. That's not necessarily the top qualities you want in a relationship. Demi's sun, Trine Joe's Uranus. They start as friends, we see again. Demi inspires Joe. Frequent changes occur in the relationship, not surprisingly so. They get each other's humor. It's a relationship of experimentation and they encourage each other to be themselves. So I'm glad that they're on the path of like sort of self-acceptance in a way. You know, they're encouraging each other to be themselves, which is nice. Demi thinks of Joe as inspiring and exciting. So we see again that Joe really seems to brighten up Demi. Joe tries to keep the relationship interesting and Demi may feel threatened by Joe's need for freedom. They both need to encourage the other's independence. So really, I feel like what we're seeing so far, constant repetition of they need to be their own person and they're putting the best foot forward as individuals. Joe's sun square Demi's moon. There's a basic misunderstanding and practical disagreements occur. General discontent. This is where the U-turn happens. Demi sees Joe as too rational and selfish. Joe sees Demi as too sensitive. So I assume these 2 points would be relating to how Demi feels threatened by Joe's need for freedom, having his own independence and space. Demi may feel resentful towards Joe over time. Joe's sun square Demi's Pluto. It's love-hate, we see again. There's a strong magnetic connection. Both need to learn not to focus on their ego, which makes sense. I feel like their personalities seem to play a big part of their relationship from what we're seeing so far. Hard to remain just friends after. I mean, I don't believe we have seen anything of them together post that sort of camp rock era they had. Want to learn everything about the other, which is nice. Transformative and power struggles can occur. Both want to be the dominant, yeah. Both of them wanting to be at the center, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like there would definitely be a problem with that sort of they need to be the center and kind of needing to be the more powerful and more sort of force. Possibility to encourage the other's negative qualities. Definitely if they share the same sort of negative qualities, that kind of is effectively encouraging it because obviously they're not going to tell the other not to do so when they're doing it unless they are a hypocrite. Possibility of an unhealthy obsession with the other. Both experience emotions they never felt before in a relationship, which isn't surprising. I mean, they both were very young. I assume one of their first relationships on both ends, so makes sense. Now it's time for moon. We have Demi's moon in Taurus and Joe's moon in Aquarius. These are both fixed signs. They are both stubborn. These sign combinations so far, like we saw with the Leos, the Taurus and Aquarius, all fixed signs, so all generally tend to be a tad more stubborn. Demi helps Joe connect to nature. Joe doesn't appreciate Demi's possessiveness. They disagree on social matters. Demi's moon in Joe's 8th house overlay. Joe can go deep into Demi's psyche and he can awaken Demi's inner demons. I don't like this for several reasons, obviously. But main one is we saw how earlier that it was transformative relationship. This concerns me. If we're seeing this has more affected Demi, it just concerns me knowing what we know about her publicly with her mental health struggles. Demi will desire things in this relationship that are too taboo. They both act out fantasies together and they have a deep connection. I guess like the whole sort of startup to fame is kind of a fantasy for them. And they're both living it out together in the beginning. Emotionally nurturing relationship and their desire for the other is never satiated. Possibility for them to come back together after a separation. I don't believe they have. Joe's moon in Demi's 6th house overlaid. Joe has conflicting feelings towards Demi. I would say so because we have seen that he seems to like her, but I guess we're seeing he does seem to have a bit of hesitation with her possessiveness or tendency to be possessive. Both are too helpful to each other. It can be beneficial if working towards a mutual goal. Of course it is. Easy to create a resentful relationship. Yeah, we did see literally Demi feels more resentful to him over time. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of deteriorating factors now. Demi's moon at Trine Joe's Mercury. They're comfortable talking to each other about everything. At least they're comfortable. It's a harmonious relationship. Joe enjoys being emotionally nourished by Demi. What we're seeing so far is Demi seems to be putting a lot more effort and care into the relationship. You know, if she's the one that's more emotionally nurturing and a bit more like vigilant of Joe. Joe provides a foundation for Demi's feelings. That's nice. And Demi is comfortable expressing her feelings of Joe. So, okay, I'm glad it seems to be on both sides, the emotional nurturing aspect. It's not just one-sided. Demi's moon trine Joe's Neptune. Demi picks up on Joe's needs. They inspire the other. We see that one again. Art is a shared interest, obviously. They sense each other's feelings and they share a sensitive and mystical worldview. I'm sure they would definitely share a similar worldview. I'm sure they would share a very similar worldview. I'm not too familiar with both of them and how they got into the whole Hollywood scene. But from what we do know, either way, they ended up in Hollywood very young, so they would share a very similar worldview, I imagine. There's a mystical meeting and both uncover the other's blind spots. There does seem to be a very good foundation of they want to get to know each other and everything. That's something these two very much have down. They're very comfortable with sharing anything with each other, it seems like. They both are very open with each other. Demi's moon opposite Joe's Pluto. Jealousy and emotional manipulation is an underlying element. So far, the jealousy I assume has to be from Demi's end. Joe can see Demi's unconscious needs and uses it to manipulate her. Joe has a controlling power over Demi. I really don't like this. The whole thing with Joe awakening Demi's inner demons, I don't like this. Obviously, but just combined with this, it's just, I really hate it. Demi's need for safety and belonging leads her to being taken advantage of by Joe. Both need to learn that love and control are separate. Will need to work through power struggles we see again. Projecting is an issue and this can be unstable and explosive. I hate this because there does seem to be a good sort of foundation. In one sense, they're very open with each other and everything. That's important. But just this whole element, I feel like this kind of whole thing has awoken Demi in a bad way, this relationship. Joe's moon opposite Demi's Mercury. They have insightful conversations and they confide in each other. Yeah, they have that down. They both feel different here. We see again, Joe questions a lot of what Demi says and Joe's feelings are incompatible with Demi's ideas. Which is odd. We saw the whole thing with Demi wanting the taboo in this relationship. Potentially maybe Joe sees those feelings or whatever thought she has as a bit more taboo. Now for the intermission. This video is brought to you by me, my Etsy store, Adeline the Astrologer. If you ever watch this and think, hey, I would like her to read my Synastry chart, well, I will. I do personalized synastry readings on my Etsy store, both basic and detailed. The basic one is very simple to understand. It's not overwhelming at all. It's pretty good for those that are beginners to astrology, just getting the head around astrology, or just as a fun gift idea. The detailed one is just like what I do on my channel, just a lot of insight and interpretation on your chart. So if you are interested in that and everything else astrology and tarot related, readings and gifts, then definitely check out my Etsy store. Links are below. I'm always releasing new things, so definitely check it out if you're interested. You can even just favorite the store just to show your support for free. Thanks for listening, and let's get back to the reading. So now it's time for Mercury. Have Demi's Mercury in Leo and Joe's Mercury in Virgo. Joe encourages Demi to focus on physical aspects of life. Demi resents Joe for his criticism, understandably so. Joe sees Demi as impractical, so potentially that's where his feelings are incompatible with Demi's ideas. Potentially he just simply sees her as a bit more impractical, needs to be grounded. Demi sees Joe as someone with no vision, so this definitely does, like here we are seeing the sort of battle of creative versus logic. Help each other with their strengths. I'm sure they would, because they potentially, we were seeing in the beginning anyway, like they do share same strengths, same weaknesses. So Demi's Mercury in Joe's 10th house. Hard to talk about things outside of goals. I assume this would be for them hard to talk about things outside of the sort of career, like Camp Rock, I guess. I don't believe they had any other big projects together as far as I know. They're a public couple. Joe may be fascinated by Demi. Joe tends to idolize Demi. I'm not obsessed with Joe in this relationship, I'm not gonna lie. Possibly a one-sided relationship. I mean, in some ways it is very much one-sided. Demi seems to be a bit more, I guess, invested in this relationship in terms of she's a bit more like possessive of Joe and everything, and a bit more conscious of like his space and everything. They may like to work together. Joe's Mercury in Demi's 2nd house. Difficult to see eye to eye together, and they lack common views. And both get the impression that the other doesn't get them. This is interesting. So, because we have been seeing a lot of they do are generally the same person, share very similar characteristics overall. But we do also see the element of they do have some kind of basic misunderstanding. It seems to be with their sort of ideas and thoughts they have about things and the views and whatnot. So potentially they both get the impression that the other doesn't get them. They would have made a judgment based off of whatever they seem to have like a core sort of disagreement and they cannot get past it sort of thing. I wonder if we'll see more specifically what it is. But that seems to be the case, that there's a sort of like core thing. Maybe it was a bit of a barrier to why they couldn't initially reach out to each other. Demi's Mercury square Joe's Pluto. There's frequent intellectual arguments. We did see, I believe they have intellectual discussions. So potentially they can lead to arguments, especially if they do have a core disagreement. Both may hold on to issues for too long. I hate to skew this in a way, but like the initial thing that came to my mind, if this relationship set off Demi and was the beginning of sort of Demi's struggles, that seemed to have a very long lasting effect on her. Demi is overwhelmed by this dynamic. I'm not surprised, I would be too. Demi wants to understand Joe deeply and she feels controlled by Joe. I really don't like Joe. We did see that he seems to have a controlling power over Demi and we're seeing it again. Joe wants to know Demi's secrets and Joe tries to control Demi's thoughts. Yeah, there seems to be, with thoughts and views, that seems to be a core sort of disagreement here, which Joe seems to really want to change. Joe's Mercury conjunct Demi's Venus. There's flowing communication. They enjoy the same movies and music. I kind of hope they would have some kind of commonality on that one. They share mutual friends, not surprisingly so. They participate in social activities together. Joe helps Demi verbalize her feelings and Demi enjoys conversations of Joe. I know this is technically positive. She seems a bit too comfortable. You know, not wrong on her part. Obviously, she was very young. Obviously, she's going to be a bit more vulnerable, especially if she feels comfortable with Joe. It just sucks that it seems like Joe took advantage of her vulnerability here. Joe's Mercury square Demi's Mars. They challenge each other. Differences cause irritation. the differences of thoughts and views seem to really cause that. Living together is difficult. I don't know if they ever had, but that's there, and not surprisingly so. Debates quickly turn into arguments. Okay, so yeah, we did see before, like, yeah, they have those intellectual conversations, but also intellectual debates and arguments. So potentially just very quickly turns into it. Demi has a habit of interrupting Joe. Demi tries to force her opinion on Joe. I'm glad Joe's not the only one that's trying to do that. Joe is too critical of Demi. Again, it seems like with their thoughts and views. Joe's Mercury conjunct Demi's Jupiter. Demi introduces Joe to lucky connections. I'm not sure who, because I'm pretty sure both of them were in a sort of similar position. It's not like either of them had more or less connections in the industry as far as I know, but obviously Demi seems to have a tad more. It's a relationship of learning, and Demi encourages Joe to expand his horizons. Traveling strengthens the relationship, and Joe helps Demi be practical. What is Joe's obsession with making Demi more practical? That's odd. It's a favorable business partnership, obviously. Demi feels her thinking is valued by Joe. I feel bad. She seems very, like, vulnerable. Vulnerable is the word I keep coming back to. She just seems very vulnerable, and she feels safe here, and I don't feel it worked in terms of Joe seemed to have taken advantage of it, as we did see earlier. They have a strong intellectual bond. Joe's Mercury trine Demi's Uranus. Joe sees Demi as an intellectual companion. At least the intellectual relationship for the most part seems to be good. They're perceptive and intuitive of each other. They have open communication. Yeah, I'm sure they do. They have open communication. I'm sure they do. We have kept seeing that. Joe becomes more inventive around Demi. They work together on goals. We keep seeing that, and yeah, realistically so. Encourage each other's visions. I wonder in what way. It has to be in terms of goals and career. Joe's Mercury trine Demi's Neptune. Demi inspires Joe's imagination. I'm glad she kind of seems to have broken through his sort of like anti-creativity thing. But unfortunately probably is more related to career and goals. Share an appreciation of the art. They just get each other. I'm sure if they are very similar people, like even though they do have their key differences, I'm sure on a foundation level they do. They are forgiving of each other, which I'm not obsessed of seeing if it's more on Demi's end. Joe's Mercury sextile Demi's Pluto, interested in unique subjects together. It's a therapist-patient relationship. Interesting. Get to the bottom of things quickly, and they share a lot together. I guess that's where it would be that sort of therapist-patient-like relationship. Maybe not necessarily breaking through things as such and having that therapeutic connection, but potentially in the sense that they just share a lot together. Joe is fascinated by Demi's depth. They tell each other their deepest secrets. Both heal from past relationships together. I assume because of their age. I'm not sure if they had any other significant sort of one-on-one connections. But potentially, as I said, due to the age, maybe something with family or any other person in the industry. Joe uplifts Demi. We saw this right from the beginning. Demi opens up Joe to new ways of thinking. I'm glad that she seems to be like breaking through him a bit, which is nice. They resolve deeper matters together, and Demi appreciates Joe's humor. So now it's time for Venus. Both their Venus signs are in Virgo. They share values and morals. Not all of them, it seems like. They have common ground. We see again for the billionth time. They are flexible and attentive with each other, and the relationship can get tedious. I assume it would get tedious if they are literally working together. Demi's Venus in Joe's 11th house. Demi immediately likes Joe. We did see there was a bit of they both got the impression the other doesn't get them. Potentially would be Joe if he's seeing Demi, because he doesn't seem to view Demi highly, like she's not practical enough or whatever. Potentially Joe had a bit of hesitation. They are comfortable with each other. Joe senses he can be himself around Demi. So I wonder what the sort of impression was that was a bit more negative on each other. Potentially there are conflicting feelings. You can change your mind. They are good friends. They both share the same social activities we see again. And they are both open with each other. Joe's Venus in Demi's second house overlaid. Joe is focused on what he can get out of this relationship. I do not like Joe. I keep saying this. Bad vibes from him in this relationship. Joe doesn't feel committed to Demi. Like, Demi's a bit not sure about his sort of freedom and independence and everything, feels a bit more possessive of him. Demi is careful to not get emotionally invested in Joe. I hope this is true. It's just that we saw a lot of other indicators that kind of stump this one. Hopefully she wasn't completely vulnerable though, for her sake. Demi's Venus sextile Joe's Pluto. They are consumed by each other and it's unlikely to go stale in routine. Their literal work routine is unstable, so it makes sense. Demi sees Joe as irresistible and it's emotionally fulfilling. That's like, I do see that they are very open with each other, and I'm sure in a sense this would be emotionally fulfilling. As I keep saying, I feel bad because Joe seems to take advantage of Demi's vulnerability. Both see disagreements as a way to understand the other person more. That is nice. So now it's time for Mars. We have Demi's Mars in Gemini and Joe's Mars in Virgo. These are both ruled by Mercury. It's a restless but experimental relationship. We do see this again, the whole experimental aspect. And both tend to be picky with each other. Definitely Joe. You know, we have seen Demi be a bit more like possessive and a bit more jealous, but Joe seems to be just straight up picky of her, like wants to control her thoughts and everything, which we did see once on Demi's end, but overwhelmingly so on Joe's end. Demi's Mars in Joe's 9th house. There's a strong need to travel together. We see the travel element again. Was Camp Rock like a legitimate band though? Because if they were, they would have had to do that tour thing together. Potentially, I assume, I don't know where else the travel element would come in. That would be a very good way though. They have an easygoing chemistry and Demi is drawn to Joe. Demi is more straightforward around Joe. I assume it would be with like expressing herself and everything. And Demi feels she can have a good time with Joe. Nice. Joe's Mars overlaid in Demi's 1st house. Joe inspires Demi to be more brave. I really hope she can get got something good out of this relationship. Joe is blunt with Demi, definitely about what she should do, more so in the way that she thinks and should conduct herself more practically. Joe encourages Demi to be proud of who she is. I assume like, because we have seen a bit of a mix from Joe, which we did see had conflicting feelings, but it simply could be there's some parts he doesn't like, whatever he likes he encourages. Very basic. And Demi has a desire to seduce Joe. I mean, we have seen she's very drawn to him and everything, so it makes sense. So that was the final aspect, bringing us to the end of the reading. If you have made it this far, please consider subscribing for more. I post these readings weekly. And besides that, give this video a like, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!